Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Teenagers Python. It had been a long time since I have uploaded a video. But don't worry, I will be uploading on a regular basis from now. In the last video we discussed some string methods and today it's a continuous of that. We are going to see some more important string methods. There are many in Python but we are only going to look some more important ones. Today you may see a different orientation of the PyCharm window, but don't worry, it's just for the video purpose and you'll be getting the same results normally from the previous videos. So with no further delay, let's get started. The first thing we are going to learn today is the count. So this basically counts the number of characters you specified in a string. For suppose we have a variable a holding the string apple. In this case we are going to count p. So we'll take one more variable and we'll count in this variable a dot count, and in strings we need to mention the character to be counted. In this case it's p. So now we'll print. As we learned concatenation of strings in the last video, we can combine them using a plus symbol. So now I'll write here the number of peas in apple are, and we'll be using a plus symbol to combine, and now here it will be b. So if we run, we'll be getting an error, and guess why? We learned it in the last video. That is because we can't combine two different data types. You need to convert b also into a string, and that can be done using str. Now if we run, there you go. The number of peas in apple are 2. So the count of p in apple are 2. The next thing we are going to learn today is find. So here we'll take one more string a equals, or we'll use the same thing, a equals apple. I'm not erasing the previous content, we'll be continuing in this. Now we'll take a variable c and find for the index number of L. So it's like a dot find, in double quotes we'll be giving L, and we'll be printing C as usual. So if we run, we'll be getting number 3. So the index number of L in apple is 3. As we know, index starts from 0 and A is 0, P1, P2 and L is 3, and that's right, what we got printed is. Next thing we are going to look is split. So we'll take a string with different fruits. For example, D equals, it's a string with different fruits. APPL, apple, banana and an orange. We'll be separating these with for supposing this slash. Next, now we'll be separating this apple, banana and orange into 3 different strings. That can be done using the split method. So we'll be taking one more variable e and we'll be storing the splitted values. This splitted values will be stored in a list. That can be done by d dot split, and the character where it should be split should be written over here. In this case it's slash. And now if we print e, we'll be getting a list with the substrings. Here you go. And you can join them back using the method join. This works in the same way, only the difference is the character to be joined will be written before. I'll explain it. We will be taking f equals, here the character should be mentioned before, so we'll be separating them with comma right now. Comma dot join the what is the variable to be joined? It's e. The list should be mentioned over here, and we'll be printing f. So if we run, we'll be getting apple, banana and orange, but the different thing is it's separated by comma. So difference between split and join is just the characters should be mentioned. Here it should be mentioned in the brackets, while here it's mentioned before the method. Now we'll look at some more methods. So let me clean up the screen, and now we are going to look at strip. This will remove excess space to the left or right of the string. For example, we have a variable called data holding the string Python with a excess space in both the sides. Now we'll use the strip. Before that, we'll be printing data once. If we run it, you can see there's a space printed before and after the Python. But now I'll be stripping the data. So we'll be storing this in a new variable, a equals data dot strip, and you need to put parenthesis as it's a method, and then we'll be printing a. Now if we print, there's no space on both the sides. You can also strip only on one side if required. For example, if you want to strip only the left side, b equals data dot l strip. L stands for left and R stands for right. Parenthesis, and we'll be printing b. Now if we run, only left part is stripped and right part still exists, as you can see. But in this case, it's stripped on both the sides. Only Python is there. So you can try with R strip also. R will strip only to the right, which is not visible in this case, but left is not stripped, as you can see. The next method we are going to learn is format and formatted strings. Let's clean up the screen and look at format string first. So we looked at different methods of concatenation yesterday, and format string is one of the concatenation method you can use to combine strings. We'll be taking a variable info that has a string we are learning, and we'll leave some space over here with curly brackets that can be filled with concatenation normally using a plus symbol or a comma symbol. But now we'll be using format method. We'll say dot format, and we'll be writing the content that should be filled in the curly brackets. In this case, we'll write Python, and we'll be printing this info variable. So if we run, you can see that we are learning Python. So instead of curly brackets, Python is printed. So this is helpful when you need to change the variable continuously. For suppose a, and a will be storing a variable Python. So when you run it, you get Python. When you want to change whole thing in the text, when you write a larger code and you just want to change Python to HTML, for suppose, using this format method will be helpful because you wrote in a variable, and changing that variable will change in all the places you used Python HTML. This can be changed to anything, for suppose CSS. This is the way it works. Next we'll be looking at formatted string. It's also called as F string. F string. This is the best method and my favorite method for concatenation of strings. It's the easiest way to. This is very simple. We'll be taking a variable. Let's take some letter again, A, and before writing double quotes, we write the letter F. And now we can write we are learning. Same, we'll be writing curly brackets, and now we can write the variable inside it, a, which is CSS, and now we'll be printing a. So if we run this, you'll get the same output, and this is way easier because you just write a letter F instead of format and other stuff. So now if you change CSS to HTML or anything, you'll be getting that printed. I'll remove this to make it convenient for better understanding. So if you run it, you'll be getting we are learning HTML. You can change this to anything. You just need to put F before this opening the double quotes and use the curly brackets to write the variables whatever you want. This is the best method of concatenation. These are the important string methods, but there are also few more such as isdigit. This checks if the data is a digit or not. For suppose we have a variable storing number 9 and you can check, will directly print a dot is digit. It returns true or false. This also should be ending with parenthesis. Most of the string methods end with a parenthesis. So there's an error. Guess why? This is because isDigit checks for digits in a string. So if you make this into string and write 9, now it returns true. So there can be any possible digits. If you run, it's true. But even if there's a single letter like A, B, something random letters, it returns false. So normal digits can be checked with type. For suppose if you have 9, this can be checked with type of A. So that returns class integer. But the specialty of this isDigit is that it checks the digit in a string. The next method is endswith. So we have endswith. For suppose we have a variable data storing Python, same as the previous example. Now we'll be printing endswith. This also returns true or false. So we have one more variable a storing data dot endswith. In the parenthesis you need to mention the n. For suppose on, Python ends with on. Now print a. This returns true or false. It really ends with on, so it needs to return true. But if you mention anything else, for suppose th, it returns false. So you can mention anything. thon will also work. Any number of characters will work. Last thing we are going to learn today is negative indexing. Yesterday we saw positive indexing and some string striding methods. Today we'll be looking at negative indexing. This starts from the right side of the string. So now we'll be taking a variable language that has Python, that is storing Python variable. So here the negative indexing starts from -1 and goes down. So n is for -1, 0 is for -2, h -3, t -4 and so on. So here we'll be striding from the opposite way. Here we'll be slicing pi. So we'll take a variable called substring and we will assign it with the value of the substring. So as we saw in the previous video, we'll be using language and in the square brackets we'll be specifying the ending value, starting value and the step value. So first one we need p, so it's -6 and then we'll be doing it till y, but we need to take a step further and we need to specify the next index, as Python ends one index before of the ending value. So if you mention -4, it will be ending at -5 itself. And now we'll be printing this substring. So guess what will be the output? As we discussed, it's pi. It may be confusing right now, but if you once watched the previous video more about strings and come here back, it would be easy, as we discussed positive indexing over there. Now we can also take a step value. I am now removing the ending value so that it takes the whole string, and now I'll put a step value of 2. So a letter is skipped always after printing the character. For suppose P is printed, then Y is skipped, then T is printed again, H is skipped. So it always prints the second letter from the current character. So if we now run it, PTO. So P is printed, Y is skipped, T is printed, H is skipped, and O is printed. Then after skipping N, there's no other letter to print, so that's why it doesn't. You can also take 3-step. So Y and T is skipped and H is printed. Again O and is skipped, there's nothing to print, so it prints P and H. That's how negative indexing takes place. That's it for today, guys. I hope it's helpful. If you didn't understand anything, you can comment below. Watch the again video if you don't understand it. Check with the previous videos for any confusion and hit that red button below.